Good evening and welcome to the PI show. My name's Harry Nowicki. I'm here with my colleague Tony Carbone.
Good evening, Harry. Viewers.
And we're the only PI show discussing injuries in Australia. And today we're going to discuss a couple of jury matters and the weird and wonderful world of juries and how they decide. Both cases went against the plaintiffs. The first case was in Melbourne. It was a concreter. He was in his early 30s. He was using a trowel machine to even up concrete. And he says the trowel machine vibrations and the heaviness of the trowel machine caused an injury to his neck. And he then sued the employer. Went before a jury. And the jury ultimately awarded him $20,000 for pain and suffering and $20,000 for loss of earnings. And what happened was, because those figures were less than what the legislation, the law says should be awarded, he got in effect zero.
Well, Harry, there's a threshold. If you don't get over a certain amount for each head of damage, you get nothing.
You get zero.
You get nothing.
So he ended up with zero. What went wrong?
Harry, this is a hamburger with the lot, this case. You've got a guy that's poor work history.
Before the injury?
Before the accident.
Before the accident.
He's caught on surveillance, doing more than what he tells the doctors he can do.
Well, he said he had a neck injury, and he said the neck was very stiff. And then, over a number of years, the insurer followed him, and it's interesting, they followed him to the medical appointments.
Well, Harry, more often than not, surveillance is generally conducted when the insurance company's investigators know where your client's going to be, and the best time to follow them is when you go to a medical appointment.
So he goes to a doctor, and when he sees a doctor, he says, "Look, I've got a stiff neck. I can't move my neck. It's terribly sore."
He had very poor flexion, rotation, a whole lot.
With his neck?
Yeah, and then when he walks out the appointment, they've got him on video moving freely. That's
with his neck.
The simple language, yes.
Yeah. So they filmed him a number of times over a matter of years. One film was taken in a pokie venue.
That should not have been allowed.
Why?
Because, well, the Gaming Act says that you can't take surveillance, can't take videos in a gaming venue. There's privacy issues, there's all sorts of things. It's against the law. In fact, the investigator could have been charged.
So
if the lawyers had raised the issue about that video, it should have been disallowed. That's number one. And two, the fellow who took the video should have been charged for breaching the Gaming Act.
So they should have thrown the
video out.
The video out.
Yeah.
Okay. So there was video surveillance of this person, and what else sort of went against him?
The whole history was poor. I mean, this fellow here, poor work history, like we said, surveillance showed him exaggerating, embellishing his injuries. He was smoking bongs, and one of the doctors recorded that he was smoking 10 a day. I mean,
it wasn't the explanation. It was pain relief.
I don't know. I think it was just a continuation of his pre-injury activities. Who knows?
But so he was smoking 10 bongs a day, which is a lot. I think the suggestion
I've
was...
never smoked once. I'm not really sure what 10 would do to you, but I could imagine you'd be off your face. You'd think
10 a day. It sounds a lot. But he was smoking 10 a day. Do you think that might have demotivated him to be looking for work?
Oh, that's part of it. And also the big thing in this case, Harry, was the fact that the X-rays didn't really show much.
So with his neck injury?
Yeah, it's not as if he could go to a jury and say, "Look, members of a jury, look what's wrong with my neck." There wasn't much there. I mean, it was probably soft tissue. Soft tissue means muscles and ligaments, as opposed to a genuine disc injury of sorts.
So there was no
objective evidence of fair income serious damage to his neck.
But there was no operation or any
no.
damage.
And plus, his treatment was very spasmodic. If you have a look, there was a time there where he was having a court case with some banks over some failed business, I think. And in the time that he was litigating that case, he had very little or no treatment for his injuries. and that would have worked against him. So,
But he was, look, from the date of his injury
Yep.
till the date of trial was 10 years.
yep.
So, and in effect, he hadn't worked for 10 years, and the jury just said his loss of income for 10 years was $20,000. That seems
Can't
perverse.
Be right. No, it can't be right. On the worst case scenario, he was showing $5,000 to $6,000 in his pre-injury tax returns. So you'd think that if he couldn't work, if that was the evidence, they should have allowed him at least that. Or
For
even
50 or
half
six,
of that.
$50,000 or $60,000 for the inability to work.
Yeah.
But the jury just, for some reason, just didn't believe.
Harry, they just didn't like this bloke. Simple as that.
But shouldn't they have just given zero?
No,
Was that
look,
open to them? Could the jury just give him zero?
On the evidence, probably not.
Well,
Probably not, because
he didn't have
There's
he
evidence-
didn't have a fair income genuine injury,
I know, but
and the jury just could have said we don't believe anything he says, and
But there's enough evidence in the court to say that he has got an injury of sorts. So what's the award for general damages, pain and suffering? Is it, 0, 20, 40, 60, 70, 80? I mean,
But-
20 is a figure that represents a very small amount.
a marginal amount.
Yeah.
So they just took a dislike to this person.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of things going against him, and as you say, hammered with a lot.
But the
Poor
part-
injury, surveillance, poor work history,
The whole works.
and psychiatric problems unrelated to the to this injury. Smoking 10 bongs a day. I don't know what
In the
effect-
overall scheme of things, because it was something that was long-lasting, I mean, 10 years is a long time, Harry. I would have thought that a figure around 80 to 100,000 probably would have been a fairer result. Because someone in his position with a serious disc injury probably would have got $200,000 to $300,000.
But the jury just didn't believe he had a serious
like
injury.
Him at all. Yeah, they just didn't like him at all.
So they gave him the bare minimum, if you like.
Yeah.
And then he appealed to the Court of Appeal.
And
What
they,
happened?
Well, they said it wasn't perverse. I mean, it was see, to be able to succeed in an appeal to the Court of Appeal on in simple language, the court, it's something that the jury couldn't possibly come to. It's a verdict that they couldn't come to. But on the evidence, I think they could. So the Court of Appeal wasn't prepared to touch it.
Well, that's all we've got time for. We've got to go to a break and some messages, but we'll be back after the break.